Jolly day to you, students. We're here in Great Britain where we are traveling by car, and of course, we're driving on the left side of the road. And a street sign tells us that to get from Manchester to Liverpool, we must travel 44 kilometers. All right, the problem with 44 kilometers, my car travels in miles. So at the end of my trip, my journey, it was a jolly good time. We noticed that we traveled 70.84 miles. Now, the street sign told me it's 44 kilometers, but my car said I traveled 70.84 miles. So the question I have for you, mates, is how many miles are in a kilometer? So the question I'm asking in my very bad British accent is how many miles are in a kilometer? I'm asking you to compare two quantities that have different kinds of units. This is called a rate. We're figuring out the rate of miles per kilometers. So using the numbers from that example, there were 70.84 miles on my odometer, but the street sign said 44 kilometers. So when you divide 44 into 70.4, you get 1.61. So that's 1.61 miles per kilometer. So that's the rate at which we would convert miles to kilometers. For every 1 kilometer, you travel 1.61 miles. Okay? A unit rate is what we have just figured out. When you get the rate simplified so that the denominator is 1. So a rate compares the two units. So we have a rate here, 70.84 miles to 44 kilometers. But to get a unit rate, the unit rate is 1.61 miles per 1 kilometer. So that made a unit rate. And what we're going to be dealing with here are unit rates. We want to figure out the cost. If it's $10 for 8 cans of soup, we want to figure out how much it is for 1 can of soup. So you'll set up your ratio, 10 over 8. And we want and this is dollars to cans of soup. And we'll want to simplify so that our denominator is 1. So in order to do that, I'll need to divide the top and the bottom by 8, because 8 divided by 8 equals 1. So how much is 1 can of soup? Well, 10 divided by 8 gives us 1.25, and since we're talking about money, it's $1.25 per can of soup. All right, so here we have traveling miles in 7 days. So 187 miles in 7 days. Again, we want our denominator to be 1 day. How many miles did we travel per day? So we are dividing the top and the bottom by 7. Divide by 7, because 7 divided by 7 is 1, and 187 divided by 7 is 26.7. So notice this is coming out to be a decimal, and that's okay because our denominator is 1. So we travel 26.7 miles per day. Our next problem is what we call a comparison or a better deal problem. We want to figure out which is most economical. We're shopping at the store. 12-ounce bottle of shampoo is $4.50. A 16-ounce bottle is $6.56. So is the bigger bottle the better buy? That's the question. So we'll take $4.50 divided by 12 ounces. So per 1 ounce, what does it cost? We'll have to divide the top and the bottom by 12. Divide by 12, $4.50 divided by 12 is 0.38, so it's 38 cents per ounce. Let's compare that to the other bottle that costs $6.56 for 16 ounces. So we're going to divide by 16, divide by 16, and that gives us 1 ounce. And 656 divided by 16 is going to give me 40 cents. So in this situation, the bigger bottle was not the better buy. Instead, our better buy was the 12-ounce bottle because it was 38 cents per ounce, whereas the bigger bottle is 40 cents per ounce. All right, the next example, 2 different brands of sunscreen. I want you to work that one for me. I'll check that tomorrow to see which one you say is the better buy. And let's move on down to example 3. A bakery can make 195 donuts in 3 hours. At this rate, how many donuts can the bakery make in 8 hours? Well, let's figure out how many donuts per 1 hour. So 195 divided by 3 hours, divide the top and the bottom by 3 to get our denominator of 1 hour. So the bakery is baking at a rate of 65 donuts per hour. So in 8 hours, we'll say 65 times 8. In 8 hours, they will have made 520 donuts. So you see how the rate could come in handy if you knew at what rate they were cooking. A snail moves 5 feet in 2 hours. How many feet will the snail move in 5 hours? I'll be checking that one tomorrow also. Cheerio, mates.